Okay, so really quick, I just wanted to make a video about something that was on my mind about the concept of hypocrisy. And I have seen this word morph and change over the years, and the meaning get really, really muddled. And that is very, very bad because, as we all know, hypocrisy is just one of those things that you'd never want to be accused of having. It's really, really bad. And the last thing anyone wants to be called nowadays is a hypocrite. But unfortunately, I think the term has become a catch-all for a concept that basically means, here's somebody in society that you don't want to be associated with, and let's all call them bad, and let's all remove our association with them. And that is as deep as the definition has gotten these days. Um, it's just a really bad person who is not what they say they are. And, I don't know. It's just pretty much every bad movie trope person um, from the 80s is what a hypocrite is supposed to be. And here's the thing. I have actually really wanted to get down to the bottom of this concept. I really wanted to understand what a hypocrite was. I just remember in my 20s, just like I would hear the word being said, and it would be like, I don't think this means what people think it means. And finally, in the last couple of weeks, and I have to tell you, our current political climate, or just our climate in general as a country, has helped me a lot to put this concept together. But understanding what the word hypocrite means. If you look at the etymology of the word, not the definition, because the definition is just the modern definition is just going to reflect what people already say about this word. Um, the etymology comes from, I should look it up right now. I should probably already have it open, but it's basically tying it back to, an actor, a mask. And yeah, I was just gonna look it up the other day actually, because I was like, that hippo, that HYPO, which I'm pretty sure means like under, like there's hypoallergenic, meaning it's not allergenic. So I'm like, what does it mean? And I forgot to look it up, but I'm gonna do it right now actually. But anyway, so literally I just started typing it in my Google, and it's put up hypocrite, a person who indulges in hypocrisy. Well, that is very helpful, Google. Thank you. So anyway, I actually finally figured out, I got the perfect mental picture of what hypocrisy actually is. Okay, so I'm looking up this website. It's called Etym Online. It's my favorite etymology website. And this is saying hypocrisy, also an imitation of a person's speech and gestures, acting on the stage, pretense. Hypocrisy, from some crazy Greek thing that I cannot pronounce. Play a part, pretend. And then hypo, which is under, which I was correct about. And then the other part comes from crei, Krei, to sieve, thus discriminate or distinguish. So essentially to under distinguish. That's insane, actually. I'm gonna have to think about that for a while. But anyway, so the thing that I hate is that people are starting to lump this all together, just every bad concept together. Hypocrisy is just somebody finding out that somebody did some bad stuff and you bring it to light. Oh, they're a hypocrite. Okay, that's not what it is. oh, a hypocrite is somebody who, they tell me not to do something, but they do the same thing. That's a hypocrite. Actually, no, that's not what it is either. It's like people are just starting to put these concepts under one umbrella. It's like, no, don't do that. These are all different things that need to be, categorized properly so that you know how to treat someone. A hypocrite is a really dangerous person because what they're basically doing is they are misleading you into thinking there is a way to be that is valid, and it's not. And if you end up modeling yourself after these people, you're going to be in really bad trouble. You're going to end up reaping and sowing some things that you don't want, thinking you can actually be like these people. So that's what makes it bad. That's what makes it dangerous. It's not that they are just vile people that you should just stay away from because the culture. There's really something dangerous about them. The reason that Jesus told us not to be like these people is not just because here's what not to do, and this is what will keep you from getting friends or whatever. It's not cancel culture. So the picture that I got on my mind, I saw this meme, and it's like this news anchor guy, when they send the weatherman out and he goes out into the bad weather and he's just like, oh, it's really bad out here. And it's this meme where he goes out into the weather and it's like super rainy and stormy and he's got his hat on and he's like trying to like walk against the wind, and it's so like super windy and just a mess, and it's just like hurricane season, blah blah blah. And then like right when he's doing that, like two people behind him just walk by normally. Like there was like he was clearly just pretending that it was that bad. And that to me was like, okay, now I've got it. That's what it is. It's like you've got a person who is openly uh, professing that things are a certain way, but then also openly professing that things are another way. And finally, someone goes, wait, didn't you just say it was like this? How can it be like this and like that? And the key is it has to be, they both have to, whatever ways they're contradicting each other, they both have to be public. Otherwise, that's not hypocrisy. It's something else. Maybe it's lying. A person who is up there and they're this upstanding person, but then deep down, or you find out some other things later, they were doing this other thing. That's not hypocrisy. In fact, whatever it is, it's consistent because that person knows that whatever thing they're doing behind closed doors is bad and it should be hidden. So that actually is consistent with what that person is doing, is publicly showing it. They're not inconsistent in their thought. Are they flawed? Yes. And that was the thing that would trip me up the most, when people would call people hypocrites, and I'd be like, but wait, they hid that from you because they knew you would do that. How is that hypocrisy? Like I just didn't understand why so people were so upset about something. I was like, I'm not upset about that at all. Like, yeah, it sucks to find that out, but that's why they hid it, so that we would never find out, because it feels bad when we all find out. Like that just seemed like not, that just was regular. So that would always trip me up, and I'd be like, I gotta get to the bottom of this word. And now what we see like in our political climate and things like that, it's like you see these people and they're just like, oh, this issue, it's so bad. We've got to do something. And then behind them is this way bigger issue that is essentially the same. It's the same thing on a larger scale, but it's like, how are you upset about this, but not that? And then you see the inconsistency in their behavior. I mean, it's like if you're this upset about this, then this should be putting you in just a stretcher and a psych ward. You should be insane over this. But they literally just don't care. So it shows their inconsistency. It's like if you're in the kiddie pool and you're like, oh, I can't breathe. And then, but you're swimming in the sea. It's like, I don't, what? and you do both of those things publicly. It's like when celebrities, they tell you to conserve energy and fossil fuel and, not to pollute the whatever. And then they get on their jet openly and they fly to their next destination. That it's like that is hypocrisy. And celebrities got it bad. I mean, they're part of their whole thing is to act and be other people. So I don't know if that just gives them they're just naturally got this predilection to BS their way through life. I don't know, but they just seem to be able to just land right into this hypocrisy stage. And I think the other thing is that a lot of things like we just think it's really weird too, because sometimes the person is a hypocrite and it's like, well, that person is hypocritical, but they just need adjusting. They need help. And then sometimes people say, oh, well, they're hypocritical. They're a lost cause. They're horrible. Don't go near them. And it's like, well, I don't, what makes people hypocrites, but rehabilitative, and then some people are just irredeemable. It's really weird how some people do that. But from what I understand, and if you go to the Bible and you look up the word hypocrite and you see the way that Jesus uses it, I would say about 50% of the time he is talking about some public gesture. Even when the main scripture that most people look at, which used to confuse me but doesn't anymore, about, oh, well, you can't say to someone you have a speck in your eye and you have a log when you have a log in your eye. It's like, you hypocrite, get rid of the log in your eye before you can fix the speck in someone else's. And I would always be confused on it because I'd be like, well, we all do that. Does that make us all hypocrites? Which, by the way, I also hate when everyone says that. We're all hypocrites in some way. It's like, listen, don't put me in that category with you. I do not, this is a really, really bad state to be in. And you don't need to just casually say that. Oh, well, we're all hypocrites. You really need to not be that. So I'm like, are we all hypocrites though? Like, is that what Jesus is trying to say? But when I look at that thing, that analogy that he's giving, the person with the log in their eye is trying to help. It's not that that person has a log in their eye and they go to the person with the speck and they're like, ew, you're disgusting, person with the speck. Like, that's not what he's doing. He's going, oh, let me help you, to the speck person, which is a really big difference. Because one, when you are pointing out something that you yourself are doing, that is more like, although projection is a real thing, and it's bizarre, honestly, a really bizarre phenomenon. But also like, okay, I can't see my own nose, right? I can't see my back without the help of a mirror. You might say to me, okay, you got something on your nose, you got something on your back. You might have something on your nose too. Does that mean that you're a hypocrite? No, you can't see your nose either. It's like, we can't just go around, because what it does is it keeps people from being able to hear feedback when you just shut down everything. It's like you have to have a real reason to be shutting down people and calling them hypocrites and not being able to take anything from them anymore. So the other parts where he talks about people being hypocrites, it's like, don't be out in the square like the hypocrites do, or the hypocrites love to say their prayers openly. This idea that they love to pray openly. This is a really specific type of person. It's like, don't be like the hypocrites who, love to take the best seats and they love to show people what they've given. So he's talking about real performative things. It's not just about this heart issue where it's like, well, you have a log in your eye and you just don't have a right to tell anybody else anything about their lives. It's like, don't feel disempowered by the idea. It's like, well, I have problems, so I can't tell these people not to molest kids. It's like, no, that's not what he's saying. He's saying there are people out there, and personally, he doesn't really say it outright, but I think this hypocrisy, for the most part, is intentional and it is a con. And these people just sometimes get caught in the con and they go too far and they when you don't really believe something, eventually you're going to get caught like, wait, didn't you just do this the other day? Didn't you tell people not to wear masks or to wear masks and then you went out to the French laundry or whatever? You're going to mess up when you don't really believe what you're saying. So, yeah, sometimes people inadvertently do this, but I think you really have to be self-deceived to the point of hypocrisy. That's really, really hard to pull off. If you are that inconsistent in your beliefs, um, you don't even know what you believe. You're not attached to anything. Just think of the guy pretending to be in the rain in the windy. What human would do that if they weren't trying to deceive you? What person would do that? That's crazy to pretend like things are windy and rainy while people are walking by regular and looking at you. That's a mental illness. So either you are mentally ill or you think you're getting over on somebody with something. And those are literally the only two options that it could be. So I think the Pharisees in Jesus's day, um, it helps to have some incentive. Of course, there's a lot of incentive to appear to look like a good person, to appear like, oh, the toil and the windy rain, whatever. There's a lot of um, people who are desperate for attention, and they find it very it's really hard and labor intensive to actually do good things, and it's kind of a shortcut to just pretend like you care and cry a little bit. And yeah, you can get caught up in that and then eventually get caught. Um, so yeah, I guess I can see that, but you're really flirting with something that is really just not good for society. And when that starts to become promoted as a way of being for everybody, then we're screwed. We're screwed. Because now we're just all performing. No one is really who's getting anything actually done if we're all just so concerned about what we look like to each other that I mean it's too much. It kind of reminds me there's this lab experiment with rats or something that's really actually popular. I can't remember what it's called, but they basically like replicated, they made like this mouse city. I think the point was they were trying to figure out like at what point is there too much population in one area or something. I can't remember what the objective was, but eventually it just showed how the mice, it just started breaking down in all of these ways they didn't expect. And it got to the point where the female mice weren't even taking care of the babies anymore because they would rather get social. I think that's what it was. It was like, can there be too much socialization? Um, they were getting more um, rewards from society, from the social things around them. They weren't actually doing any responsible things, so they weren't taking care of the babies. The male rats were like, there was so much competition that they were like selecting mates that were like too young. They were like selecting like children mates. It's really weird. I'm sure you could look it up somewhere. Mice City experiment or something. But I think maybe we're seeing that maybe that's sort of a result. Maybe this hypocrisy is a result of just the social media saturation and just everyone feeling like they have an audience all the time. And so, what is performing except for pretending that, you're the person on the talk show is pretending that the person is super interesting and everyone's laughing and blah, blah, blah. and they're just used to doing that. They got to do a show. What else are they going to do? So we're all kind of doing that. And you see the kids on the YouTube and they're just like, oh, what's this? Blah, blah. And everybody's like just trying to get clicks. And so, yeah, it might be that we are creating hypocrites uh, with our social media. So that's a little bit scary. Okay, so anyway, I talked a lot longer than I thought I was going to, but basically, come away with this understanding that hypocrisy is different from just being a flawed human. It's actually quite bad. It's lying on a level that is detrimental, basically a con, making people think that you can be a certain way and get a good result from the universe, as it were, for lack of a better term. And it has to, in order for it to be considered hypocrisy, it has to contain two contradictory things that are both public. The person is doing two things publicly, and both of them are contradicting each other for it to be even considered hypocrisy. Anything else is just, flawed human behavior. So take hypocrisy seriously, and also don't uh, over report hypocrisy. And that's all I have to say about it. Thank you.